most successful when I see everybody working together.
So basically, if a lawyer contacts you, tell us that kind of story of how it works with not giving names, but a kind of case scenario and how that works.
The way it works is if the lawyer is representing somebody and they call us and said, "Hey, listen, we have this particular case, and we're looking at the one parent who has some issues. Maybe there's some substance abuse issues or anything like that." Then our agreement in that case is done with the lawyer. So we have like what we call a letter of engagement. The lawyer will sign off as approving it. We discuss, fees and natures of the investigation. And in that realm, we have what they call attorney work product, which means is that the information that we're providing to the lawyer is confidential and it's treated as such. And that's usually why I try to tell clients, look, we should be working through your lawyer in the sense because there is more legal protection in that sense, because there's no client privilege between an investigator and that person. Now, we don't disclose who the clients are unless, we're issued a subpoena or court order based on it, or unless we're going to, testify at a trial or a hearing. And then on the other hand, the communications between myself and the lawyer, again, are confidential and are protected under the attorney work product.
So when you talk about child custody cases in a certain way, when you go and investigate, what are you looking for towards that other parent to see?
Well, the first thing we do is we gather all the information from the one parent that's hired us. They may make allegations that, this person's, a substance abuser, goes into bars, hangs out, maybe using drugs, doing things of that nature. Now, usually there are agreements in place for the most part, on who can be with the child. And one of the tricky parts is grandparents, and then maybe, let's say, a woman's boyfriend. So we got to try to identify who that person is to make sure they don't have a criminal record, they don't have any issues with child abuse. So there's a lot of background initially. We start before we even start our investigation. Then that'll give us leads as to how we perform like our surveillances and things. So for example, we gather as much evidence and as much information from the client, and we try to obtain the habits, of the person that they're having these issues with, and once we obtain those habits, then we conduct surveillances because people are creatures of habit. You may go to the store at 5 o'clock, go to the gym at 6 o'clock, go to the bar at 7 o'clock, etc. So we want to make sure that at the end of the day that the child is in the safest environment that they can be in when that other parent has the custody of the child. So there's things that usually are worked out sometimes, but usually in the beginning of these child custody cases, there's no real agreements, which makes it again challenging because, we need to know, hey, are the grandparents allowed to watch it? Do the grandparents have any issues? Are they in any type of legal jeopardy? Have they had any substance abuse or child abuse issues? So those things we try to find out that should be worked out, prior to us being involved. But if not, there's also court orders that limit a person's ability, who's going to watch the child. So then if they're violating that court order, then it's brought back to the lawyer in that case. And subsequently, it's another negotiation piece, on the terms of the child custody. For example, some may only get a child once or twice a week, every other week, weekends. So there's some limitations on that. And that becomes the difficult part. What are the limitations on where the child can go and who that child can be around?
So interesting when you talk about where they can be and where certain things, then you're going to be really doing surveillance in certain ways and be able to uncover certain information. So it's important that client that you're hired to work with kind of understands the whole process and all that. And sometimes it comes back with nothing, right? It's just, again, an allegation. And your job is to research and find what information
Right.
you can and bring it back to them. It might never go to court at all, right?
Some of them don't go to court, but every case that we investigate, we prepare that we're going to court, because then we have all the evidence necessary that we need to bring into court. I've had cases, for example, I've had a child custody case. The investigation lasted over a year because there was different decisions being made by the courts, different disagreements, et cetera. And it took a substantial amount of time and a budget, to gather all that evidence. We were following, let's say, for example, in one case that I can tell you, we had a female who was a parent, but they were never married to the other person. So we would follow her around, and she was going to known locations in certain areas of the city of Pittsburgh where there's drug trafficking taking place. So we knew that she was going in there and picking up drugs, things of that nature. So we documented everything, and then that becomes a credibility issue for that other parent.
Definitely, definitely does. Now, another thing that you do, and this is interesting, and you'll have to define that more for me, is cohabitation in divorce and alimony cases. So explain specifically, again, this is against the other person that's filing for divorce, to make sure that what they're saying is true, because then the way the ruling happens will be big, right?
Well, that also, I mean, it really affects it's a money issue when you're talking about alimony. In a lot of these cases, it is about money. The difficult issue in cohabitation is being able to prove that person is residing with somebody, living there on a regular basis, believing that they have sexual relationships, on and on and on. So normally cohabitation, as I try to explain to clients, it's a difficult thing to prove, especially if that person has another address that they're using or claim an address. That's another tactic used by that person, because a lot of times they'll say, we're living at, 1234 Main Street, but they don't reside there. They use that as a cover so they can benefit, getting the money from their ex-spouse. And so, that's what we do. We try to identify where that person is, where they work, and usually cohabitation cases take a while. We usually take 2-3 weeks at least by developing evidence on them, because we got to show a pattern. So let's say, for example, in the early morning hours, we see a car at a, known person's residence, which is let's say that's the boyfriend's residence. And from there, they get up and they go to work. So we would follow them from that particular residence to work. And then we come back, and then we watch them come from work and back at that same residence. So now you're developing a pattern of behavior to prove your cohabitation. And there's some other, things that we do in terms of the investigation, whether we use, hidden cameras, et cetera, to document people coming and going out of a particular location.
Yeah, so interesting. So based on that, if they're saying they're not living in a certain place, the alimony money changes. It's more expensive for them if they're not paying certain rent or they're living off someone else, right?
Exactly. So in those cases, if there's just a casual relationship, let's say with a boyfriend, let's say they may stay there, a night or two. The courts don't look at it that way. You have to be able to prove that they're actually residing there. Now, another thing tactics that people use, they'll use an address where they get their mail to make it appear that they're residing at a particular location. Maybe it's a family member. They could be saying, hey, I'm living with my mother, living with my sister or another relative, but they're only using that in name only because it's just another way to avoid, the burden of alimony and having their alimony payments reduced. So that's kind of how that works. But it's when you look at both types of investigations, they're extremely difficult in a lot of cases, extremely emotional, and sometimes even in child custody cases, they can be dangerous, and even cohabitation cases, because one of the things that we do is, because it's such a and I've been to domestics when I was in law enforcement. I know how dangerous those can be, and so we never try to put people in those situations. So, for example, if it's an infidelity case and we're following somebody and we get them, let's say at a hotel or whatever, meeting someone, we don't disclose at that moment where they're at and who they're meeting, because we certainly don't want, the other party to come running and, causing some physical harm to people. So that's kind of, how we prevent, those types of situations.
See, that's so interesting, because I think about it and say, when the danger, because if you, let's say, caught someone cheating, and we're really in the different realm as an investigator, we know there's shows that put out where they're on TV where they catch the person red-handed and the wife is there, or girlfriend, and I caught you, and then you had the private investigator found it out. Those can lead to serious violence. We talked about how you never have been in a really serious situation, but that's going to be where real tempers and anger come.
Well, yeah, you want to prevent that. You don't want to encourage it. And that's why I say our policy is that we don't disclose. And I tell the clients up front, if we're out doing surveillances on your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, if we happen to see that going on, or they're still currently married, we'll eventually tell them where they were. We may have videos of them going in or meeting somebody, things of that nature. We've like, for example, I've had somebody call us and say, hey, I know my wife, I suspect that she's meeting somebody, and they're going to be, I got information she's staying at this hotel. So we're doing a stakeout on the surveillance. And then lo and behold, we watch, that person arrive in the vehicle that we know about. And then right then and there, here comes the other person who actually was in the vehicle, and they're taking out their suitcases together. And then we just tell them in, and we see, we'll get on an elevator with them and watch them go up to the room. So, I mean, those things happen. And so we tell the client, hey, look, this is what we saw. We're not going to disclose what particular room they went into, but we're letting you know that there was a meeting and that took place.
So do you have to get all this on video, or you don't get this on video?
Well, we get most of it on video. We get them, let's say, for example, when they're arriving on video, we may get them in a elevator together on video, and we may get them on video going to their room, and watching them being able to go in. That's the great thing about cell phones.
How surprising is it when you think somebody and you're tailing them and surveilling them, that they end up doing something when you think maybe they're not going to be that kind of person?
I mean, you can never predict what somebody's going to do and how they're going to do it. I mean, for the most part, we have, I would say, in over 90% of the cases, when somebody suspects that, they're having an affair with somebody, there's a lot of red flags that we usually talk about. Does a guy have, let's say, we'll use a male as an example. Is he text messaging a lot? Does he have a password on his cell phone? Does he go into other rooms? What is he doing at night? Is he on a computer a lot? And then, you begin to, realize that, maybe their sexual relationships have gone downhill. So there's a lot of red flags that we look for, that are very, very strong indicators that somebody is, cheating on the other one.
And a lot of times, do the people know each other very well that you found out? It's just interesting that this is a
Well, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, some of them were friends.
Really, wow.
Yeah, it could be the husband's friend or the woman's friend that they're actually having an affair, or somebody goes off on a business trip and they're meeting them. So yeah, there's like I said, you cannot predict what people are going to do in their behavior, and then you begin to wonder, oh my God, if they're friends and they're doing this behind their spouse's back, and so it's just unbelievable, I can tell you, and it's a challenge when you're up against these type of cases.
And those happen. I bet you these cases are going to pick up more and more with the pandemic finally being over.
Oh, absolutely.
If it is, but we'll say it is.
Oh, I think it will. I think a lot of them, because now there's going to be a lot of movement. People are going to be a lot more free, less restricted. So I think we'll be getting back to our normal course of society, and things will start moving as we move along here.
So before this, when it was all lockdown, there was always investigations, but what things decreased a lot? What cases were the biggest decrease? Would you say definitely the divorces and stuff? Because they're not
yeah, there was. I would say overall there was a significant decrease in the investigation all the way around. Whether there were, some civil matter cases, we were still, I guess, cherry picking cases here and there, but nothing steady like it's always been. So, the pandemic did have an effect on a lot of things, even in criminal defense cases, with the courts being shut down, there wasn't much you can do. And people were, reluctant, to meet you or, to be interviewed. So, all that's now changed.
Wow. Yeah. So, and now it's back to, so you're getting those calls, you're finding out, oh my gosh, someone's investigating somebody. Divorces, the divorce lawyers are really busy now, right? Well, now people are free to go back to work, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that business is I think that and child custody cases are really picking up again, because like I said, there's more movement. The courts are open now. There's a lot less restrictions going on. So I think, as time goes on, we'll see, another level of increase in our investigation business.
No, that's good for them, but not good for you, but not, I don't know how great for certain people. But again, people, when they were just stuck in a house all day and night, when the first pandemic started and all these different things, you're ready to get out and about, and you're looking to travel too. So Larry, again, nationally, you'll do investigations outside of Pittsburgh, right?
Oh, absolutely. And we have done them outside of Pittsburgh. So the way we usually work, because of our professional relationships in different organizations, we know and most of our investigators are vetted, so nobody has to worry about who we're dealing with on the other side. If we have to travel to a particular location, we'll work with that investigator in that location together, and sort of as a team, and we do whatever we have to do, and then we move on. But yeah, we do that all the time. I've been involved, going in different states, in different types of investigations, working with private investigators in those areas.
Okay. Best place to find information is go where?
Go to my website, www.fcisllc.com.
All right. Awesome. That's great. Everyone needs to check it out. And basically you can follow you on all social media at that website and contact you today by just going and giving you a call, and you're willing to go and give and take calls, right? Regarding anything involving.
Yeah, absolutely. We give a free initial consultation. We listen to the folks that call us, and then we make a determination as to if it fits our criteria in terms of an investigation like child custody or infidelity cases, civil investigations with lawyers and law firms, criminal defense cases. So there's a variety of things that we look at. and then we make a decision if that fits the bill.
Absolutely. And then Larry and I will be just starting to do some speaking engagements. That's coming soon in July and August. Again, if you're looking for us to talk about, again, investigating people using social media and surveillance, we will definitely be happy to speak in organizations and look at things, because one of the red flags that we could discuss maybe on the next episode is just basically how you could spot different things involving investigating yourself through social media. Because social media, a lot of red flags come up through searching somebody and really figuring out what's happening, because they somehow don't hide on social media. So I appreciate it, Larry.
Hey, thanks again, Neil.
All right, guys, that was the Neil Haley Show. Take care.